What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brewtallyspeaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is a returning Chase Wilson of Sulfur. Their latest album, Endless, comes out January 16th via Century Media Records. It was a good time having Chase back on. We have been really after this one for a hot minute. Like, we just keep going like, yeah, we should do the thing. And at one point, I think when they were recording with Josh up at Random Awesome Studios, there was talks of maybe trying to get up there and then do a double dip with him and Josh and all this other stuff. And it just never panned out. And then finally, they dropped a couple of singles, announced the album, and we just made it happen. And it was good catching up with him. I think like there's been a lot of great things going on with the Up Sulfur camp. I think obviously a song like Wither, kind of divisive, it would seem, right out the gate, but I think a lot of people were into it. I think by and large, most of the comments I saw were really supportive, and I think it just showcases an interesting side to the band that they maybe hadn't gone fully into, but obviously I think when you deal with loss as profound as both Chase and Ricky did, you know, it obviously inspires art in some way, shape, or form. And to see that the guys were wanting to pay respects to their lost loved ones and do something like a song like Wither, I think is just huge. And it's just a really good thing, I think, to showcase just the creative growth of people in a band, even in a band like Up Sulfur. And obviously, at this point, I haven't gotten to hear any of the rest of the record either, but I know there's a few more surprises in talking to Chase and to Josh. Spoiler, you'll hear an episode with Josh soon. If you haven't already, maybe you listen to that one and then you're coming to this one. But it was a thing where, you know, it's always kind of great getting to catch up with some of these people. I think Chase is kind of in a really interesting space right now. You know, in the year and a half or so, he's really been making a conscious effort to be more health conscious. And it's something when I see his posts of him, like, especially out in Vegas, sometimes just out in the heat, like like it's kind of like a dry heat, but still, it's still hot. Just out there getting a workout in, getting a run in, whatever. You know, I just saw him when Up Sulfur was here in town, and it looks great. Makes me feel a little self-conscious about myself because now I'm like, oh, I'm the fat friend now. Um, but it's a thing where I have a goal in place. I think like a lot of people do, new year, new me, all that kind of shit. But I am definitely trying to, and I guess I'll put it out there for accountability's sake. I am trying to lose 60 pounds by my 42nd birthday. So September 20th of 2026. Hopefully I'll be down 60 pounds or pretty close. This podcast and a lot of new life things have kind of, I don't want to say hindered me. The foot surgery still kind of has me feeling some type of way about whether I have the mobility and the full range of motion in both my ankle and foot versus what I can actually do. The handful of times I've tried doing some stuff, it doesn't feel great, which leads me to not feel very confident in doing anything. Potentially that's just an excuse. Potentially that's just a hurdle I'm going to have to get over. Obviously to say no pain, no gain, right? So, also, you know, over the last like month or so, not been drinking. So that's been, you know, a nice, welcome, healthier change for myself. Just trying to be better. You know, I'm trying to find balances in a lot of life things to set myself up for success later in life to rectify some of the bad things I've been doing. And I think that's something, you know, you'll hear Chase and I get into as well. So all of that said, let's kind of get into wrapping this part up so we can get into the conversation with Chase. If you would like to keep up with Up Sulfur, you can go to upsulfur.com. Again, the new record comes out January 16th via Century Media. You still have time to pre-save it, to pre-order it if you are into vinyl and the merch drops and all that kind of stuff. You can go to facebook.com of Sulfur, Instagram of Sulfur, and Twitter of Sulfur. You can keep up with Chase at Chase Wilson Riffs, keep up with his progress reports of sorts of him going to the gym and all that kind of stuff. Also, you're going to hear us talking about the Dallas and Green Rain When I Die Alice in Chains cover. If you haven't heard it, fucking go listen to it. It's insane. It's so good. It was really worth me getting to watch Chase listen to it in real time. What an incredible song. Anyway, if you would like to keep up with me, you can find me on BrewerSpeakPod on all your social media platforms of choice. Email me at brutallyspeaking@gmail.com. Rate, review, subscribe. You know why that is important and why we do it. If you can, please do. Keeps you in the algorithms and all that kind of fun stuff. And lastly, rockabilia.com. Use our code BRUTALLY at checkout. Take 10% off your total purchase order. Save some money. Get some new swag. It's a new year. Well, it's about to be a new year, but either way, new year, new you, all that stuff. If you're going to drop some weight, maybe get some new shirts, maybe get into that shirt. I mentioned in a couple episodes ago, there was a shirt that I was really interested in, but it only came in a medium. And I was like, can I lose the weight to get into it? That'll be my goal. Maybe I'll just buy it, like I said, and just stare at it while I work out. And I'll just be like, man, you motherfucker, I can't fit into you yet, but I will. And maybe that'll be the motivation. Maybe I'll buy it and I'll just post progress pics in that thing of like how it looks, not like a can of busted open biscuits, and then just slowly looks like a very svelte me in it, looking all good. But again, go to Rockabilia, support them, and maybe you can enjoy your weight loss journey or whatever in your new swag as well. All that said, let's get into my conversation with Chase, and I will talk to you all on whatever the next episode you listen to is. Enjoy this one. So, I feel like, God, I feel like so much has happened since the last time we talked. And it's kind of funny. Like, Dale and I were talking about this a little while ago. I've been really big on relationships and kind of like how you fit into them, how you navigate them, the roles you play within them and all that. And something we were kind of talking about was, I was like, because he's about to go out with the Atreyu guys. And so I was like, he goes, oh, have you talked to Porter in a little bit? And I was like, no. I was like, with him living overseas, I still don't know what time anything is. I know he does like graphic design work, so I just never want to be a bother. And I go, it's almost like Chase at times too. Like, I feel like I just punish him, like, or I'll send him a text about something and I know he's busy doing other shit. But then I'm also like that thing where I'm like, am I being a bother? Should I be more of a bother? I don't know. And he was like, it is this like weird thing that we straddle as people, like, where we reach out because like Dale and I are very similar in that, like, where it's like we're reaching out to like, hey man, what are you up to? This, that, or the other. But then there becomes this point where you're like, oh man, am I fucking punishing somebody? And like this weird guilt thing that you get. And he was like, I do it with my other friends too. And I was like, same. I was like, I just never know where that fine line is at times. And I feel like it's kind of something, as I think about it, it's got to be even harder, I think, for all of you on the like that tour, because you're like, well, I'm here now, but tomorrow I'm in a whole nother time zone. Like, who knows what fucking time it is for somebody else? Like, I just feel like I was thinking about how hard it has to be when you're actually in the rhythm of touring, when you know when to call or text anybody.
Mm-hmm. It's a struggle, bro, honestly. And it's like, I have had failed relationships because I've been in a band, because like I can't text all the time, or my phone is dead because I didn't charge it the night before and I have to wait till I get to the venue, or the generator's not working in the RV. It just, there's a multitude of things like when you're out on the road and everything like that. And I should be better about talking to people. I feel bad too, because like there are times where I'll miss text, and I just looked at our text thread today and I'm like, oh fuck, he's hit me up so many times. And I'm like, I'm just like, I feel like the biggest douche, So it's like, I understand people get busy, but I should be better about it. But it's just so hard sometimes. And it's nothing nobody does. You're not a punisher. I think you're great. But yeah, sometimes I just get lost in my own world. And even when I'm home,
Well, I think there's something sort of to be said that, and this is kind of where I wanted to kind of go down a little bit deeper on this, is I feel like in that, though, you kind of learn this thing that, like, if I can't be fully charged and provide for myself, whatever that looks like, I can't be expected to give anything to anybody else. And I feel like from afar, I feel like that's something it seems like you've kind of tapped into a little bit in a few different ways, like especially like with your working out a lot more and being more conscious of doing that. And I feel like that when I see things like that, it's like, oh, I would much rather you put in that time into something that's actually going to be beneficial to you than, you know, me being like, hey, I'm coming to Vegas in a couple of months, like to eat pizza and be a garbage human. Like, when do you have time to hang out?
No, I mean, I get it. Yeah, I've been trying to do a lot more for me lately, and that might it can come off sounding selfish at times, but I'm trying to do good things, like you said, like working out more. You know, I'm very happy with the way I look because for the last 5 years, I was the guy who hated every live shot that he got back of himself. You know what I mean? And it's like, that sucks. Like, like the rest of the guys are stoked. They're like, oh yeah, this is such a good picture. Oh yeah, this is so great. And I'm like, damn, I look like a fucking fat slob, like I hate this. So I'm trying to do things to make myself better in every possible way, mentally, physically, musician wise, everything. I'm trying to make sure that I'm the best person that I can be. Sometimes I do get a little too lost in my own sauce, and I hate to say people go to the wayside, but it's like I've just been so enveloped in doing that right now. It's a little much sometimes, and I do apologize to all my friends and you and everybody, but I do get a little too lost in my own sauce sometimes.
Do you feel like that's something? Because I often wonder too sometimes, and it's because I've been trying to find a lot better of a balance in doing things personally, in the sense that like even this show now, instead of doing a weekly thing, it's now going to be a seasonal thing. And like I got an email from a publicist today that was like, hey, I was looking for this episode. Where's it at? And I'm like, and I started to get like really anxious and upset kind of because I was like, oh man, I'm letting someone down. But it's like, no, I was pretty adamant that this isn't going to come out in any specific time at this point. So if you don't want to have the person come on, I understand. This is just now the back end of it, where it's like maybe they thought that it would be out by now and it's not. But like again, kind of learning to set boundaries and kind of set them and stand behind them so people know where you are and all that kind of stuff. I think working on yourself is never something that we should be apologetic about, but more oftentimes than not, we feel like we have to be. And I would wonder, you were saying that like you've kind of lost some relationships over the years due to, kind of maybe being not as, I don't want to say tech savvy, but being as readily available as others may want you to be. Do you feel in this last, I feel comfortable saying year and a half of kind of maybe self-rediscovery of your priorities and so forth, do you feel that you maybe feel less bad about that because your intentions are a lot more defined and why?
Yeah, 110%. It's one of those things. If I was out and just living my life full of debauchery and sin like 24/7, I could maybe understand why people be like, all right, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're a mess. But I'm 90% of the time I'm sitting in my apartment watching anime. I'm at the gym, I'm taking a walk, or I'm getting a coffee, and it's like I work in bars when I'm home, as you know. So like I'm around that stuff all the time, and it makes it less appealing, kind of, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like I'm getting paid to be out, and it's like I'll maybe go have a drink or a burger after work or something like that at the 24-hour spot, but it's nothing crazy. Like, I mean, every once in a while I'll let loose, but I'm not doing it all the time. And I feel like I don't really feel as bad these days, not answering back a text, not going on that date, or, not doing something for somebody else, because I need to work on myself. I've spent my whole life, worrying about other people or what they're going to do and like how it's going to look if I don't handle something. But that's not really my responsibility these days. My responsibility is to take care of myself and my family if need be. But that's about it.
I think it's kind of interesting. Like, as of when we're recording this, I literally accepted a new position at a different job. So I'm getting out of the place I'm at now that I've been feeling very stagnant in for the last few years, but then it also affords me the ability to get out of the bar for a little while. You know, because I watch, like, I'm as a door guy, I'm watching, I'm the eyes and ears of the bar. I'm making sure shit doesn't happen before it happens. Maybe potentially telling my bartenders, like, hey, like, this dude's like pretty much done, like, cash him out and get him out. Let's get him out of here. It's really hard to see that week in and week out and just kind of see people at their lowest, see people making these awful financial decisions. And like, it just puts it under such a really, really fine microscope that it's just like, sometimes if you're like an empathic person like I am, it's just real hard to fucking sit there and be like, I can't do anything about this.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're at a place where people go to escape, and sometimes they do escape, and it's not in the best possible way. You know what I mean? And working in a bar is like, it's great because it's fun. It's like, you know, most of the time it's chill, it's cool. Like, you're hanging out with a bunch of cool people. You're hanging out with bartenders. You know, it's like I'm a door guy too, where I'm at, and then I also work behind the bar at a venue in town as well. So, you know, I get to see both ends. Like, I'm serving people drinks, they're happy, you know, like whatever, and you know, I'm the door guy, and I'm kind of like, you know, oh, this guy is the guy who's going to either let me in and let me stay and have fun, or kick my ass out if I get too rowdy. It's like, you know, it's like, I see both sides. So, and it's funny how different people treat the two. But yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. It's like a bittersweet's not the word, but like, in a way, like, you see the duality of man in these places, and it's kind of insane. Like, because you can go see the whole spectrum of emotions across the bar. You know, there's a guy sat in the corner. There's a group of girls who are just turned 21. There's, you know, a bridesmaid party. There's a bachelor party. You know, a bunch of friends who haven't seen each other in years. And it's like, it's cool to see those things, but like, you know, there's always like I said, that one dude in the corner, or like, you know, the person who's alone because they don't have friends, or, you know, that type of thing. They're out because they want to try and like make friends, and that stuff's sad to see too. So I don't know. It's a weird dynamic working in that environment.
It's one of those that at times, like, because we work, and I'm sure same with you, like, you have your other people from other bars on your block or whatever that come, you know, like, we're kind of the afters bar, like, everyone closes before us. So it's like, it also feels like this sense of community, like, that you're tapped into. So like, if you go to, like, at least I do, when I go to some of these other places, you know, you might get a comp drink, you might get something else and stuff like that. And it just reminds you of like the tight knit community that can exist in the service industry and all that kind of stuff. But I think as I get older, the thing that I don't like about it is sort of this, and maybe it's just from working as a door guy, where it's like the amount of disrespect you get for no fucking reason other than you're just sitting there doing your job. And it's like,
Yep.
Come on, man. Like, I'm sorry you think like I'm something less than, because I do a second job. This isn't even my only gig. This is my second job I do. Like, so, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just interesting just to kind of see how people treat you based on their perception of the value you offer them at the time.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's like, you know, it's like not every door guy is just a door guy. And that's actually most of the time, they're not just a door guy. That's like a side gig for some extra money or whatever. So.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but maybe it's not what I perceive it to be, given the fact that maybe you're not like over off of like Fremont or any of like the areas, but like more in a residential, normal neighborhood of Vegas. But do you tend to find that people just go extra just because it's like a touristy destination as a whole? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I live on Fremont actually, pretty much.
Okay.
So I'm like 5 minutes within walking distance to my door gig. So I see it all. It's like, you know, I see the locals, and I see who lives down there, but I also see, you know, the families from Chicago, or the bachelor, like I said, the bachelor dudes that want to go crazy, or, you know,
Yeah.
like, it's Vegas, you know, we could do whatever we want. And the bars are 24 hours. Little do they know, it's not the case everywhere. So,
No.
especially Fremont East, it's fun and stuff like that, but it's not like do whatever you want. It's like we have Metro chilling in the middle of the street. You've probably seen over by like Evil Pie. I work right across the street.
Yeah.
And at the Griffin, and Metro's always there. They're on patrol because they know stupid shit happens every single weekend or every single week because they're just prepping for it because people want to go wild in Vegas.
That's why the more like when we go, like I like Fremont area more, but it's like now thanks to Corey from God Forbid, like, he hit me to like Dino's and shit like that. So it's like I'll go over there and like chill at other bars that are not on like that everyone just goes to. It's like kind of more local bars.
Yeah, Dina's is the happy black hole that people don't leave until noon. That's a choice for sure.
Yeah, but it reminds me a lot of like the bar that I work at, where it's like you have one. I mean, technically they don't have a window, but like we have a window, and it's at the front. And then other than that, the further you go in, there's just no light getting in. So it's just like you just are further into the recesses of darkness.
Yep.
Dino's is great, and Evil Pie too. I fucking can't wait to go back in a couple of weeks. Sadly, you're gonna be a dick and not be there again.
I know. It's like I have a job.
Yeah.
It's like I do things. It's crazy.
I was joking with Andy from Ghost Inside. I'm like, you moved out there, and every time we've gone, other than the one Vegas Raiders game we went to where he happened to go, like he's always like, I'm gone. I'm got other shit to do. And I'm like, all right. I was like, I feel like I saw you somehow more. I've been out to Vegas more since you moved out there, and you're never home. Like I feel like no one's ever home in Vegas.
Those Ghost Inside dudes are busy boys. I get it. We got it's crazy how many people live out here now that are in the music industry. So
I haven't quite figured out why. I mean, it's because to me it would seem like Nashville makes sense. Like at least it's like a central hub of the country, and you got a pretty big airport that can take you pretty much wherever, and flights wouldn't be that much. But it's like Vegas. It's like you're just so far on one end, and it doesn't seem like there's a hotbed of music to go see necessarily. Not like, I mean, you have like the Hollywood Bowl and all that kind of stuff, and Brooklyn Bowl, but yeah. I don't think you guys have very many other like smaller venues, do you, over there?
We do actually. We have a House of Blues out here. We have the arenas. We have the Pearl and stuff like that. But we do have some mid-sized venues now. Granted, they're bars, so it's 21 plus. So it's not like a hot ticket to go to Vegas because you can't do all ages, which I feel like it would benefit us some more. But there's a lot of laws in Vegas, and 9 times out of 10, you got to have a bar in the venue. And if there's a bar in the venue and it's not separated somehow, then you got to make it a 21 plus thing. So I believe that's the rule. If there's not a wall separating the bar from the venue, then it can't be all ages. But yeah, I work at a venue called Swan Dive, and that's a great mid-sized venue. They've got such an awesome space. Agnostic Front, actually, I worked the Agnostic Front show yesterday, and it was amazing. There were tons of people there, and I would say probably like 300-400 people showed up. And it was an awesome show. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of opportunity, and we're so close to California. It's like a 4-hour drive. So if you really want to make a day trip to Hollywood, or you need to go have a meeting or something like that, if you're big time, if you're Slipknot or Motionless in White or one of those bands, like you're close to the hub, which would be California, LA. And it's cheaper to live out here. It's way cheaper than California. So that's the appeal. So I don't know. That could be the reason why. I don't know necessarily why, but that's why I feel the reason is. I actually got my uncle my uncle plays drums in Rob Zombie. So he I convinced him to move from LA out to Vegas because it was where my grandparents were. And I was like, dude, it's cheap. Like, it's a 4-hour drive. You can go when you guys practice or whatever like that. And, you know, he says he was going to do it on his own anyway, but I'm like, I had to convince you. There was some talking to. I had to do it.
Yeah, I was just watching a thing yesterday about Sherry and Rob doing a screening of Devil's Rejects at this tiny theater somewhere, I think in Connecticut or Mass or something like that. That's like where they live. It's like their local theater. And I was like, you know, it just seems like gone are the days where everyone's like, you know, we have to be wherever all together. And it's like, no, you don't. Not anymore.
No.
Speaking of I was gonna say, I think you're the only one that lives out in Vegas, aren't you? Out of the band?
Well, now with the new lineup, it's me, Josh, and Ricky that live out here. So like 3/5 of the band live out here, but Christian lives in Ohio and Levi lives in Pittsburgh. So we got 2 that are clear across the other side of the fucking country, but they rock, and it's worth it to like fly them out or us go out there whenever a tour starts. So
kind of speaking, I know like we have quite a bit of time between when the record actually drops, but I mean, at this point, you're what, three songs into 30% of the album's out at this point. If it's 10 tracks, like it looks like it is, but I mean, how third single in at this point, you know, Wither just came out, I think about a week and a half ago as of when we're doing this.
5 days exactly, but who's counting, you know? I'm not looking at all.
But I was gonna say, like, how, because I remember, like, and I've told this story on the show before, but I think it just kind of is interesting to go through this process. So, like, I remember doing a podcast with Andy from TGI, and they had just gotten the final mix of their comeback record at the time, and he was like, "Do you want to hear it?" And I was like, "Sure." And so we're in his studio. He's got it all fucking cranked up, and he's kind of like, so we got this one he's about to play, and he's like kind of giving it sort of the excuses, like kind of wanted to do something a little out of our wheelhouse, maybe see if we could write like an Octane-ish kind of song. This is it. We're thinking it will be the second single, maybe. It's definitely going to be one of the singles either way. And then, you know, we kind of had this discussion back and forth of like, where do you put it? Because you obviously want to come out with an ass beater. You obviously want to do this. But like, if you come out with that kind of quote unquote single or like the active rock song or whatever, when that's not what you're known for, where do you put it? So that way you can either let fans know like, hey, we got some ass beaters coming straight out the gate that you know us for, or you do it at the very end, right before the record's coming out. So then that way, if people are mad, it's like, well, you had 3 other songs that you know what it sounds like. Here's just kind of like something a little different just to maybe like garner some attention before it comes out. How much conversation was there where and when Wither was going to come out in the promotional rollout?
There's a lot of talking. So yeah, I don't know if you know the story or not, but I'll go ahead and just let it up. So my grandfather died in like 2023, right before I was supposed to go out with we were supposed to go out with Chelsea Grin. And you know, I got to see him in the hospital the day before he died. You know, I didn't know. That was always my fear, is that I was going to be gone when something happened with my grandparents, or, you know, I even had a scare with my dad recently where they found a blood clot in his heart, and I was like already on the road. Like I just left town, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? But my grandfather passed before, and it was me, my brother, my uncle, mom, my dad, all in the room. And, you know, my uncle was like, you know, talking to my grandfather. He's like, you know, we love you, and, you know, the boys love you, and, you know, Garrett and Spencer are going to make a movie about you, and, you know, Chase will probably write a song about you, and this and that. And it's like, after he died, I didn't know how to express my feelings. I didn't really know it's I've had people die in my life, but like that, he was such a inspiration to me, and he's like one of the reasons I do what I do. Um, so I wanted to honor him, and within that same year, my grandma on my mom's side died, and my other grandma that was married to my grandpa pretty much died of heartbreak. So I lost all of them. And Ricky lost his grandma, and Josh lost his dad, and I was like, okay, I have to do something to honor all of our families. And I wanted to do something kind of out of our wheelhouse. I mean, I feel like that Wither is a type of song that I could have seen coming. I just didn't know when exactly it would happen, because we've always experimented with like singing in deathcore and stuff like that. And, it was only a matter of time before we give it a shot, but I didn't know it would be so soon. But Ricky and I were talking a lot about it, and, our manager, Brad, and the label were like, yeah, like we could see it, like, but I don't really know. We don't really know what that's going to do for you. It could completely hurt you. And then it was like, valid point. Like, we're not that type of band, but all of us said, fuck it, we're going to do it. And if people like it, great. And if they don't, they don't. It's not really for them. It's for us. And if people resonate and connect with it, then awesome. But I wanted to do our thing, and I wanted to make my grandparents proud, and Ricky's grandma proud, and Josh's dad proud. So it's like, what could we do? What do parents say all the time, or grandparents say? It's like, yeah, your band's cool, but I would really like it if you sang more. There should be some melody. Like, I can hear my grandpa be like, son, I'm really proud of you, but like, that's just monster noises. Like, and and he's not wrong. But it was a lot, and we poured our hearts and souls into it. We made it really personal. I looked for voicemails from my grandmothers, and Ricky looked for voicemails from his grandma. That's the beginning one you hear is to Ricky.
Yep.
And then my grandma singing Let It Snow comes after, and then it's back to Ricky's grandma, and then it kind of interchanges each time. And then we kind of cap it off at the end with my grandfather singing, which I can't get to that part without getting really emotional even still. Because like I said, he was like the coolest. He was the coolest fucking dude, and all he loved to do was sing. His whole life was singing. He wanted to be in the Rat Pack. He wanted to be Frank Sinatra. He was that dude, and he always wanted to be on a record. So I was able to do it for him, and it's sick, but it does get me choked up. But yeah, I'm getting off track. Sorry.
No, not at all. Like, because I always think, like, it's going to be kind of a weird parallel, but I think you'll kind of get where I'm going with this. So it's kind of funny because I've been listening to a lot of 18 Vision's self-titled record, the one that everyone was like, it's butt rock and it sucks. But it's like, you listen to a song on that. I know. But I've been listening to The Sweetest Memory. Like, I just love that song. The way it's like, the mix is great. Like, the songwriting's great. Just like a lot of the components of it, I think, are really interesting. And I just love listening to it and kind of breaking it apart and all that kind of stuff. And to me, it's one of those things where it's like, when you listen to it sonically, it's like mixed bass tone is still deep in there. Like, everything that makes 18 Visions what they are is fully on display, but now you're able to hear their influences. Like, it's interesting going back and listening to like Obsession or even Vanity or, Until the Ink Runs Out and stuff like that. You can hear James's like 90s grunge alt rock influences all over the way he sings, and the doubling of his vocals and such. It's way more on display on that record than it had been anywhere else. But I think the thing that gets interesting to me as a listener is like it's like where songwriting comes into play, because it's like, okay, like and I don't mean to say it like this, but it's like anyone can play just 240 BPM blast beats with a fucking inverted pick scrapes and like all this shit and like whammy dives and all this stuff. Like anyone can do that. What can you do when you're not doing a lot all at once and you're giving something some space, or as the dirty word at times, songwriting? Let me see what you can do with your songwriting. And to me, to find melody when it's just kind of wide open, like that to me would be so fucking scary if I've not really pushed myself in that, at least in a something so publicly heard and seen like Sulfur is. That to me, like, I feel like there would maybe be some trepidation in like even the beginning of like demoing it, like, okay, like the pressure of like, what is it? Because it has to be this thing. And I think like kind of breaking it all the way down to like the core of starting it would just feel like scaling a mountain essentially, because it's not the normal thing you do. So how do you do this thing that you want to do, but maybe you feel some type of like, kind of like I was saying earlier about like, have you noticed a transition in like doing things for yourself and kind of like all of that it kind of was setting up this question of like, do you feel that through the transitions of everything you've been through physically and everything that you've given to yourself this year or the last year and a half, do you think it manifested into being able to take that same risk sonically, musically with this band, with a song like Wither?
Oh, 100%, dude. I mean, it's definitely not the most technical album you're going to hear. You know what I mean? It's not, we're not, necrophagist. We're not that, we're just not that band. And, Burden had some like technical parts in it and stuff. And I feel like even the, even like in Burden, like it was our shtick, it was the anti-religion thing, which we still hold on to. That's our brand, like, and it always will be. We're not moving away from that at all, but we're definitely going in more of a direction like, hey, we do have some other things to talk about. And this is stuff that like we feel is important. And we're going to continue to write about this. You know what I mean? Like, we started that with like Earthen on the last record. People connected with it. And, Ricky put his whole heart and soul into that song, like, and with Wither, it was kind of our chance to do that. And, I feel like me and him, he gave me like a lot of rain on that song, which I appreciate him for, because I had a lot I had to say as well. But we kind of just do whatever we want to do, and it's more so for us, and we want to write music that we enjoy writing, and we want to talk about these things that we want to talk about. And like, not to downplay our music but from before, but Booga Booga, I Hate God, all every single song is like, it gets old real quick, and we're not going to do the same album twice. We will still talk about that stuff, and that is a huge branding for Sulfur. Like that is our thing, and we've still got a lot to say about that. But I just think that, as you grow older, like me and Ricky are, we're older dudes. Other things start to matter more, and we care more about connecting with the people that do support us, versus fishing for the next breakdown, or, worrying about what deathcore Reddit is going to say, or, you know what I mean? Like it's to the point now where it's like, we're just writing music for us. And whether it's deathcore or metalcore or black and deathcore, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, we're just writing music that we enjoy writing, and that's the brass tacks.
I'm intrigued to pick your brain a little bit, because I feel like, especially given the genre that you're in, but I feel like bringing a song like Wither to Josh, I feel like he just would have fucking lit up with just like, oh my God, I can't wait to like, we could do this. We could do like, I feel like that's the thing for him, because it's not, it's kind of the curveball. It's out of left field. It's this thing that I feel like he will then like want to play with you sonically, like trying to bring all these different things. Like you might be like, oh, I hear, I don't know, blah, 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 whatever this happens to be. And he'd be like, and then like, I feel like he's the mad scientist that like will help you bring out the best version of that song that it possibly could have been. How was it working with him when you like, what was his reaction when you like played him the demo of that?
First off, I fucking love Josh Schroeder. He is the man. Josh, if you see this, I miss you and I love you. Josh is the best producer that I have ever had the pleasure of working with. He is such an easy, kind, caring person when it, in general. And then when it comes to music, he really taps in to what you want, not what the label wants, not what, the fan, that's all important and stuff. And that's all good and well, because, we need to make sure that stuff happens too. But his number one concern is making sure that you are happy with the product. And we thought we were underprepared going in, because, we wanted like 20 songs going in, and we had like 8 or 9. And so so we go in, we show him, and we open the Dropbox folder or whatever, and he's like, you guys have full songs that are like already have production and everything like set up, like drums written, get like everything. And we're like, yeah. He goes, oh, thank God. Like, some people just come in here with riffs and then it's like really grind time. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, and I was like, I mean, that's insane that, like, because the records he's done is, they're insane. He's done all the Lorna stuff. He's done, King Records. He's done The Plot and You. So many bands, that like everybody loves and enjoys, and that I love and enjoy. He did my favorite Plot record. So I, it was awesome working with him. And when we got to Wither, and we told him what it was about, and we shared our ideas and we shared the lyrics, he was like, this one we're going to take some extra time on. And I was like, okay, cool. And, Ricky came down to the studio, and we talked a lot, and he really pushed Ricky and I vocally on this record. And I can't thank him enough for that, because I started this band not even really knowing how to sing. Like, there are bad videos of me singing like on YouTube somewhere. I'm sure you can find them. But I feel like we've gotten to a point where Ricky and I are kind of can sing now. And thanks to Josh Schroeder, and a lot thanks to David Benitez, because he helps me out every time I see him, and he helps Ricky out all the time too. So, but Josh absolutely pushed us to kind of like deliver the best album that we could. And this is my favorite record that we done, and it's because it's man, I'm gonna sound like a cliche band dude here. It's so diverse and heavy and melodic. It's the most melodic and heaviest stuff we've ever written. um, no, but like it sucks because it is like that is it, and it's just I'm very proud of it, and I hope people enjoy it. Seems like, you know, we didn't know how Wither was gonna go when we released it. Like you could flip a coin, and it's either people are gonna be like, what is this? Like they're just singing, this isn't deathcore, or they could connect with
core.
it and yeah, easy core, emotional core, emo core. But it's been doing great, and people resonate with it, and you know they like it, and honestly, like it kind of gives me pumped to start working on new stuff, because maybe we'll dive into that a little further. Maybe we'll go heavier. Who knows? At this point, we could kind of play around with some things.
I think the thing about it, because, you know, I know Josh and I have been going back and forth about him coming back on. He's been super elusive because he doesn't leave the house and his hours are fucking wonky as hell. But it's been a thing where, you know, some of the records he's done, like you were saying, like, you know, I was a very casual, like, Color Morale fan, but like No Hope. Like there's still something when I listen to it now, it just feels timeless. It feels important. And I think something, and this isn't to discredit any of the bands he works with, because it's their music, it's their vision, it's theirs. But I think Josh provides a space for artists to feel safe in exploring while still pushing them maybe creatively in a way that they don't think they can. He kind of like it's, and this isn't to blow smoke up someone that I know personally's ass, but it's like, it's what the great people do. It's what like the Will Putneys, it's what the Ross Robinsons, it's what, you know, all these people that made timeless records did. They offered a space for someone to be able to explore themselves creatively, but to feel safe and foster that environment to push themselves to these new heights that maybe they didn't give themselves or think they could or whatever. And I think Josh has consistently done that in the heavy space. And I think the results, if you go through his discography, it's like it's pretty much everyone's best records come out from him. If they've gone to somebody else, then it's like, well, that's my favorite out of all the rest of them for, you know, X, Y, or Z. But like I said, when hearing the single for the first time, that was like my first thought. Is I was like, I bet Josh is fucking lit up like a Christmas tree. And I was like, dude, I can't wait to bring this out the way that I know it can be for you all. Like if it means this much and the impact of lyrically and the inspiration for it, I'm gonna bring all of that out and make it so undeniable that any fucking deathcore Reddit fucker can't remotely bitch about it, because like it is what it is. But I think it just, to me, I think it just shows growth as, like I said, as a songwriter, but also as a 41-year-old man who's been listening to extreme music for a lot of his life. Like, you know, I was talking to a friend a couple of years ago, and we were talking about how growing up when we did in the late 90s, early 2000s, we kind of got fucked as far as like extreme music went, because it's like, oh my God, have you heard Fear Factory? Yeah. How about Slipknot? Oh my God, have you heard this? And it was just Meshuggah. It's like all these bands just kept coming out. And then when you started getting more stuff from like overseas, where you're like, oh, here's like a little bit of Soilwork or In Flames, or, you know, here's Demi Borgir, or like all this other shit. It's like we were just consistently getting our minds blown by how extreme the genre could go in different directions. And now you just kind of hear stuff and you're like, oh, I mean, it borrows from this, it borrows from this. So it's like, it's hard to feel like that kid that just wants the most punishing thing for 40 minutes at a time. And you're like, man, give me something else to differentiate it. Because here's the thing, a song like Withered, and I don't have the full record, but my thing is, I guarantee anything else, when you put it and compare it to that, is going to make it sonically feel so much heavier, because you gave there some space to breathe. And it's almost like this thing I always talk about of like this feeling of like drowning or suffocating. It's like the worst part, and this is what I've always equated like melody in conjunction, all that, it's this weird sense of hope that you and then boom, here it comes, and now it just crushes you even more, and you're just like, fuck. Like it just gives you that dynamic that I don't think you get any other way than incorporating some sense of like melody like that. So to me, I always welcome shit like that because I'm like, well, this is where you get to do the really cool thing and just throw something crushing on either side of it.
Yeah, dude. And I'm a big fan of heavy records with, that reprieve. Like, you know what I mean? Like on Volume 3, Subliminal versus Vermilion, or Vermilion Part 2. Dude, both of those are such insanely good songs, and they just give you this, like, they're heavy in different ways. Like, you know what I mean? And it's some of my favorite songs on that record. Dying in Your Arms by Trivium, Arms of Sorrow by Killswitch. There's so many good like power ballads out there that I feel like people kind of like not forget about, because those are very popular songs, but like they're almost underrated. You know what I mean? Everybody's like, yeah, the heavy like Slipknot Duality, or Eyeless. And it's like, yeah, dude, but like, what about Snuff? What about like Vermilion? What about Vermilion Part 2? What about these songs where they're just so emotionally and sonically like crushing in different ways? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just something I've always loved, and always something I've wanted to put in my own music.
Yeah, I think even the shirt I'm wearing, Manson, I've been going back through and listening to a lot of Antichrist Superstar and just remembering how that made me feel. Like it was such a pivotal record. Like, I was talking about how I feel kind of bad for kids nowadays because it's like, short of growing up in like a very kind of sheltered home where you're not allowed to just listen to whatever, like music is so accessible in ways to like, you pretty much can't keep anything from anybody. But it's like I had to seek out Antichrist Superstar. Like my parents wouldn't let me have it. And so I had to have a friend burn it on a cassette. And the only way I could listen, the only time I got to listen to it, other than when I was at school, was at home when I was supposed to be sleeping on like the shittiest, like big ass headphones, like from like, mid 90s. And it just felt like a horror movie, like just the sonics and the sounds and the shit I'd never heard of. And the lyrics were fucking wild, like nothing I'd ever heard. And it just felt so personal to me, like this sort of like awakening of musically, and maybe even on a religious front of some sorts, or, pushing back against the status quo of things in pop culture, that it just felt so huge and monumental in my like development as a music fan. But I look at a song every time, like the boy that you fear is now, or the man that you fear is now, whatever that long ass song title is, basically the last track on it. It's such a fucking, what a weird way to end that record, the way the rest of that record is. And there's some songs like Tourniquet and stuff like that are a little bit more vulnerable, but when you get to that last song, man, it's just like so fucking haunting, and it's scarier than anything else that is on that record because it feels so raw and vulnerable. And like it reminds me of like hearing Daddy for the first time on Korn's first record, where it's like, I don't think I should be hearing this. Like no one should be putting this to tape and then letting you hear it. Like this is something that should just be kept between the artist and themselves, and you don't share these thoughts with other people. But like I said, it's sort of in those giant risks. Like some of my favorite songs are the ones where the artists are just so guard down, just letting you into who they are. And I feel like you guys tapped into that. And to me, like, I always hate saying like I'm excited to see what permission it gives you to do moving forward, because it almost sounds like, well, I'm already done with this song, I'm done with this record, and it's not even out. But I know that for artists, you're constantly creating. So if you love that and what it afforded you to do within the rest of everything else, then I'm sure whatever you've got cooking right now will be even better than what we don't have. So I'm always like, I wish the process was a little more instantaneous, where it's like, oh, I finally got this thing. This is cool. What else? What is this inspiring right now? Because I don't want to wait 2 years.
Right. No, totally. I mean, The album's coming out January 16th, and it will almost have been 3 years. No, it will almost have been 3 years since we put out Burden of Faith, which I think is way too long to do a record, and we're not going to do that again. The next one, we're going to try and put the next one out like sooner than that. I don't know.
Does there seem to be a sense of pushing to just, when you have a song or two, like just go record it and we'll put it out kind of when every so often, just to keep, because it just seems like the way things are with the music industry, like there seems to be like kind of up in the air whether it's like, is it singles based now? Are we just kind of keeping the every few months we got something for you in the content is king world? Or is it a thing where maybe like the label and everyone's like, we see you as an album band, we'd like you to put out a full album?
Well, that's a tricky question, because I feel like, there are bands that make singles work for them or whatever. I cannot stand it personally. Like, if I keep on hearing, like, if every month you've got a new song, or like every other month you've got a new song, it just kind of makes me feel like it's not special at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's just a me personally thing. I'm not throwing shade at other bands that do that.
Name them.
Because what's that?
I just said name them.
I'm good.
I'm just kidding.
No.
You can find that on the Patreon.
Yeah. Behind the
Anyway,
scenes
sorry.
special. Anyways, no, but there's bands that make that work for them. I'm not a fan. I think there's a good middle ground, because I feel like we waited way too long to put out another album. And I feel like it would have been better if we had released it like this year or even late last year, to be completely real. But it just is what it is. And, that's the name of the game. But I feel like there's the bands who release things every other month, and then there's us who waited way too long to do another album, but there's a good middle ground where it's like, you can do a B-side here and there, you can release stuff, whatever. If you have the extra songs, go ahead and do it, but make sure, if you're going to do that, like, I don't know, every like 4 months, whatever, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, like give it a little bit of time,
Right.
So I'm in that vein more so than anything else. But I mean, it's been proven that singles work for other bands, like I know Falling in Reverse did singles, and they're for the longest time, and they just put out an album, which is their first album in years, right?
Yeah. But that was so it's kind of funny because, like, and I know I've talked about this a few different times recently on the show, but I didn't understand that basically in the day and age now of like how records don't sell like what they used to, and the stats as far as the metrics to be equivalent to a typical album sale, like the streams just have to be astronomical to do that. So I understand now, because I didn't know that those numbers, basically when the album drops, all the numbers that those have done then get re-put into the DSPs a different way, and now all of those streams start, have already been accumulated for first week sales and all that. So it makes sense because the industry has kind of always done different ways to kind of, and I hate to say it like this way, but to pad stats. Famously, Prince put out a tour that he hadn't done in like forever, and then it just happened to come with his new record, and so he had the #1 record, and people were like, I didn't even know he had a new record out. So they've always found ways to kind of cheat the numbers a little bit, but it just becomes this thing where I feel like no one knows kind of how to do things. Like, I feel like with the Falling in Reverse thing, that was such a long play, and I feel like it was actually a way to kind of showcase that you can service a single for a long time, push it, put the money behind it, and it can do just as well as a full record that probably at least 75% of the record is going to be ignored because it's not the single, it's not the video, it's not whatever. it's been interesting to see how other artists and other genres are tackling the same thing. Like, and I always love when people give me shit for knowing any other genre other than metal. But like Cardi B, she wasn't going to put, I think it was Up on her new album or something like that. Something that had like over like a billion streams. She was not going to put it on the record, but it didn't exist anywhere. So everyone's like, whoa, what the fuck? So then she was like, fine, I'll put it on there. And then everyone, as soon as she did that, to give most of the fans that were bitching that they didn't get it, they're like, oh, well, you just cheated to get a number one record, that it already went platinum and all this shit. And you're like, all right, so you can't win when I don't give you everything you want, but then when I do something that I'm cheating and blah, blah, blah. So it just kind of becomes this thing like, where it's like, I don't know where the industry's going with it, because it feels like you have examples of the long play working. You have other examples where it doesn't. And it just seems like no one knows what the fuck they're doing or how to navigate it. So I feel like it's got to be even harder when you have to have, and I say this, I'm not putting words in your mouth, these stupid conversations with grown adults about the best way to market your marketability on TikTok and all this other stuff. And it's like, I mean, that's not why I did any of this. It doesn't really fucking matter. But I just wonder how much thought process goes into this now for you all, where it's like you said, it's been 3 years. I would like this to come out, and then maybe we're already writing now. And maybe it looks like we, in a perfect world, have another album out in a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Year and a half, 2 years at the most. And it's like, we're already thinking about the next thing. I feel like we were already thinking about the next thing as soon as we finished the record, and it's like, it sucks to say that, but it's like, we recorded these, we were demoing these out since, I've had some of these demos since 2023, like right after Bird out. So we've been sitting on these songs for a very long time. And, we went and recorded them with Josh in October last year, October, November. And so it's been like a year since we even recorded them.
Sorry to cut you off. Out of curiosity, when you, because this is a different way to look at this that I don't think I really get to talk about very often. When you sit with the material that long, you were talking earlier about how like you couldn't put out a single every other month because you just feel like you're not really invested in the music you're making. When you're sitting on it that long, do you start to second guess it, or do you really feel that strongly behind it because you've sat with the demos as long as you have to then go into the recording and you've sat with them even longer? Does that happen?
Yes and no. So here's my thing. I'm always for, if you have music that you have written and you're sitting on it, you need to put it out. It doesn't matter. Don't second guess it. Like, you're always going to second guess your songs. You're always going to be like, oh, I could have done this here. I could have done that there. Does this sound good? Is my singing off here? Or is this a good tone for my guitar or whatever? With this record, I love all of that, by the way. And I'm still very much so happy with this record. I feel like I say this every record. It's the proudest I've ever been to put out music. So let's do this. I was in a band previously to Of Sulfur, right? And we had a 5-song EP. It was done. It was done in 2016, 17, around that time. We put out a single every year. That's not okay. That EP should have come out. Like, we should have done single 1, single 2, EP. Here's the rest of the songs. And no shade to them. I love those dudes and I'm still friends with all of those dudes. But if you sit on music for that long and you're like, well, we can write something better, was the thought process that everybody had. And I'm like, no, just put it out. Music is progression. People want to hear you mature. That is one of the pain points of being in a band. People want to hear how you grow. Like, just put the fucking songs out. That's it, So I'm very pro put a song out. And it's not that, I'm just not a fan of putting out a single every other month. Like I said, it just doesn't feel special. Like when you're doing that, and it's like, oh, okay, so now you're just trying to feed the algorithm, and the song might not even be that great, but you're pushing out singles because you feel like that's what you have to do, and it's like that sucks and it's ungenuine. You know, there's a good middle ground for both, and if you have music. Bands, if you're second guessing albums, EPs, singles, put the fucking song out. Just put it out. If it sucks, write a better song and put that out later. Like, I swear to God, people will like it better. I swear.
I think it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, though. I think we're so precious about our things and showing. I mean, and it's like. It's not, God, this sounds so pretentious of myself. It's not the same in this capacity, but it's like stepping away for the shit. At this point, it's been months since I stopped doing the show in a weekly format. I thought I would be, because I wanted to do what I wanted to do with this. I wanted to have the people on I wanted to. I didn't just want to fill a week. And I feel like in the same sense, it's like I'm not putting out a song just to have a song out every, 2-3 months to stay in the algorithm. The thing that I had to be reminded of, and Dale kind of said this to me when I was kind of voicing like my insecurities. I was like, man, it took longer than I thought and I still need one more to hit the magic number that I want. And it's this thing where I was like, maybe I'm not as deserving or not where I thought I was to just have that luxury where I'm like, oh, I can just hit up so-and-so and I can make this happen. And he was like, well, when you started your show in the first place, were you able just to do whatever you wanted to do? He's like, no, you had to earn it. And like, you had to build up time and it had to be this thing that like you earned. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, so why would changing something be any different? Like, if you want this, you can't, take shortcuts and do all this shit. Like, basically you have to like have the same integrity and do all this thing and stand behind it. And like, it's even been a thing where I'm like a little nervous. Like, some of the guests are a little outside of what we do. Some of what we talk about, I think, is a little bit more serious and not music based and all that stuff. And I'm a little trepidatious, but I think I've earned it. And it is scary and it's exciting. And it's this thing where I hope that if you've been around, you'll understand where it's going. And there's that progression that I've earned with the audience and myself. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing of like putting on a song and you're like, yeah, this one may not hit you. And maybe you don't like this one, but maybe this other one will. And then this other one will. And this other one will. And I'll have built up that rapport with someone again to kind of do this thing in a different capacity than how it's been presented previously. But you just kind of have to stick by your guns and kind of know that what you're doing is satiating at least you. And that's all that matters from the beginning. Is you have to get the thing out of it first before it can do anything for anyone else.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's numero uno. You got to do it for yourself. You got to do it for the love of the game, essentially. Like, and if you're not doing it for that, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's like, yeah, we could be in a pop band and make millions and millions of dollars, but I fucking can't stand pop music for the most part. But like, this is what I want to do. And it's like, we're getting to a point where metal's coming into the fold in mainstream, media and stuff like that. But it's like, it's not where it started. And I've been playing this music for a very, very, very long time. So at a certain point, it's like, metal musicians just do it for the love of the game. Like, don't do it because you think you're going to be the next Slaughter or Lorna Shore, because like, honestly, they captured lightning in a bottle and it's so hard to do.
I would define anybody that feels that way about Lorna. Go back and listen to my chat with Adam where he was like, because like I had him on right when everything was going to shit with CJ. And we discussed all of that. And he's like, I feel like I've given so much of my fucking life to this thing, this style of music that I love. And it's kind of just always not worth it in the end. And like, I think I'm real close to giving up on this. And then it happened. what, 15 years later or something like that, like when arguably all the like everything was primed for them to slowly kind of burst a little bit out of the scene that they were in, to then it all crumbling down only for it to become fucking bigger than
even bigger than it was. Yeah.
and then even in some capacities, like I know in brief interactions with him since all that's been going on, it's kind of a careful what you wish for kind of a thing, because now there's a ton of eyes on you, and now there's expectation. Now there's all these other things involved in it, and it's like now there's new stresses and new things that like cause worry and anxiety. So it just becomes one of those things where it's like I've had those people on right before, like same with Knock Loose. It's like right before they started doing mainstream shit, where it's like, hey, you're getting on Louder in Life. What's that going to be like for you? And then it's like now that's kind of all they do is shit like that. So it's like, you know, I joke like it's like, oh, anybody that wants to break, come on my show and then never talk to me again once you finally do.
Yeah, dude.
So
I mean, that's the thing, and they deserve it too. Lorna has worked hard for years,
decades,
years, and fucking they finally did it, you know. And it's like they're reaping the benefits, but they busted their ass. But I feel like you have these kids who haven't been there, you know, from the beginning, and they're just like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. It's like, well, be prepared, because like being in a band is not fucking easy. And like if you're in a metal band, you gotta fucking grind, dude. Like it is absolutely when I started this band, like I knew that this is what I wanted to do and this is my shot to do it. And like when Ricky hit me up, I didn't know what it was going to turn into, his internet project or whatever. And he didn't want to tour. And then we started touring. But like when the touring started, I lost my house. I lost my car. I lost my job. You know, I was dead broke and I had to move back in with my parents. And those are the things you do and the sacrifices you make to do this style of music. It's like, I know a lot of pop bands and they're like, oh yeah, we busted our ass and this and that. And it's like, in reality, the busting their ass was playing like some of the rooms that we play. And like, you know, it's like still making more money than us and stuff like that. And it's like, oh yeah, busted your ass. Yeah, definitely, for sure. And not to discredit that, because I'm sure there are bands that do work hard and everything. But in every instance that I've seen, it was well funded, it was well paying, and you know, whatever. But for metal bands, we really, it sounds like a joke when I'm saying you have to do it for the love of the game, but it really fucking is. Like,
I don't know if you've watched, I don't even know if this is a band you're into at all, but I was watching the Misery Signals like farewell tour, like documentary that just came out. Mm-hmm. And getting to see that tour and getting to see, you know, both iterations of the band, like how bittersweet it was to finally see Jesse with the band, but it's the first and last time. And it's just wild to like know how many musicians I know in that scene that are like, Misery Signals are the fucking gods. Like they are so criminally underrated. And it's like, they are the band's band of, you know, technical kind of melodic, hardcore metal, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, even on their farewell tour, for the most part, you're playing to maybe like 1,200 cap rooms, when I'm like, there are bands that I know your influence like has gone well beyond this, and people playing way bigger rooms than you'll ever see. And you'll never know that like this is the band that, like, without them, you wouldn't have like half of these bands. And it's just so bittersweet sometimes to understand that, where you're like, this is just the role in the world I'm in, because, and I didn't do it. Like you said, I didn't do it for notoriety. I didn't do it for fame. You know, that band was born out of heartache and tragedy of losing friends in another band. And the album that it had left an imprint on so many of us that feel that same loss of, you know, friends and so forth. But it's just kind of wild to be like, I really wish you were one of those bands that could have broke through and gotten what you really deserved. And it's so humbling and so wild to be like 20 something years later, and this is as big as it gets for you, for the love of the game.
For the love of the game. I mean, dude, Misery, when I first heard uh I think it was Ebb and Flow by Misery
Controller.
Signals.
Was that on controller?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it was off controller. Yeah. I was like, oh, this band's going to be massive. You know what I mean? Like this is the band. Like that was, and I got my local band got a chance to play with Misery Signals. It was Ghost Inside, Misery Signals, Bring Me the Horizon. At I think it was an arcade. It was like a 400 cap arcade. It was called Jillian's, and it was downtown Vegas. It was the last show at that place. And Bring Me the Horizon had just released Suicide Season, and Misery Signals, I think, was doing direct support, if I'm not mistaken. Ghost Inside opened. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I love all these bands. All these bands are going to blow up, and Misery Signals is going to just be at the top, and this and that. And it's like, well, I was half right. Like Ghost Inside blew up, Bring Me blew up, and it is bittersweet because I love that band, and there are bands I think that could have like really gone the distance, and sometimes shit just happens, man. And it's like the luck of the draw sometimes. And not to say, because they busted their ass too. They toured for years and years and years. And sometimes, it's like gambling. it's like you keep putting in work, and you keep putting in the dollar bills, and then you hope that it hits. And if you don't keep playing, you're not gonna hit. So yeah. I mean, sorry, Vegas speak. Anyways, yeah, fucking but yeah, I agree, and that band should have been massive. But it is what it is. I think I Killed the Prom Queen was another one too that I loved, and I was like, this is the next big thing. Same thing, like what I mean. It's like shit just happened, and it all fell to pieces, and it could happen to anybody.
Kind of to end this on a little bit more of a fun ending, since we've been kind of serious most of it. What are some fun covers that you would love to do that you could see of Sulfur doing? Because I feel like, I was thinking as I saw, because it's been really interesting to see the resurgence of Deftones in the last couple of years. That I loved in Saturday Night Wrist that everyone largely hated when it came out now is like the thing that brought him back between, Cherry Waves and Beware and some other great songs on that record. It's been interesting to think of, because now you're seeing on because I don't follow anything on Reddit, but like I'll interact with things. And so Reddit doesn't know what to send me because I don't follow anything. So like I keep seeing stuff for like Deftones or like Dance Gavin Dance and some other things where it's like, I'm new to this band, but like this. And so someone was like, I just recently found all these covers that Deftones did. What's your favorite and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like gone is kind of the days where you would do a cover just to sort of break up, as your B-side or whatever, or just, hey, we're fucking around in the studio, like, fuck it, whatever. Like, here's, us riffing on this thing. What would be a fun cover that you think either A, you would just love to do, or B, that would be so unexpected based on all of your influences?
Well, it could kind of go either way, if we wanted to do something Wither-esque, which I think would be fun, we'd probably go the Alice in Chains route, because, Ricky and I are huge Alice in Chains fans. I mean, I think the entire band is, if I'm not mistaken. I'm speaking for everybody, but, something like Nutshell or Rooster or something like that would be great and fun to do. If it was something heavy that we could turn deathcore-y, I would maybe want to do like, I don't know, I would try my hand at like a Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, like those types of bands, to see if we could throw an Of Sulfur spin on it.
Suicide Note Part 2.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Alice in Chains thing, for like the current arc of Sulfur that we're in right now would probably make the most sense. But I don't know. That's kind of a loaded question, considering like we're trying different stuff and we never really know what'll hit.
I think one of the few, actually the only cover of this I've seen, which I think is just great how haunting this person did it. But one of my favorite Alice in Chains songs for a while has been Rain When I Die.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, that riff. It's just so good. But City and Color doing Rain When I Die like in that style.
What?
Oh, you haven't seen that?
That's a thing?
Yeah, so when they were doing the Alice in Chains getting inducted into like the Mopop thingy or whatever a couple years ago during the pandemic, I think. Yeah, it was like Metallica did, like everyone kind of did the songs you would assume they did, and then Dallas comes in and just does an acoustic rendition of Rain When I Die that is so hauntingly beautiful. Like where you're like, that I think it might be better than the original, if I'm being completely honest. Like it's
oh man,
so you're gonna have to listen to it and then text me when like as soon as you're done listening to it for that first time and be like, my thoughts.
I got you.
Okay.
I have to listen to this because I love Dallas Green.
Absolutely. Same. So I'll so you can get to that, and then I can get to some pre-celebration drinks for my new job that my wife wants to go do now.
Hell yeah.
Where can everyone find you or anything you would like to plug online? This will probably be out, if I had to guess, since like I said, I have one more to do. This will probably be out in like a month.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, you can follow my personal at Chase Wilson Riffs. You can follow the band at of Sulfur. Endless comes out January 16th. And we may or may not be dropping another song in December. So keep an eye out for that. That's coming up.
All right. Well, thank you once again for finally doing this. Sorry to have punished you for about a year to come back. And hopefully with the new record and so and all that and lots of touring, I would assume get more opportunities to rip a hang. I won't come with a Pantera tape this time. Those are hard to find, actually, and they cost a lot of money.
Hold on. Actually, I keep it on my desk. This is one of my prized possessions that I've had since you gave it to me.
It was yeah. Well, I'm glad it's still there.
It's still here. I keep it where I can see it. I'm never ever giving this up.
It was just so funny because I was like, oh, maybe that'll be my thing for the next little bit. Like the few that got released on cassette, and then now the cassettes are a thing again. Like good albums are really fucking expensive again on cassette, and you're like, no, I'm not spending that on a cassette. Because I still come back to the same thing I think I said to you when I gave you that. It's like they didn't figure out a way to not make cassette stretch the more you play it. So it's not like vinyl where it's like, oh, we have better needles, we have weight now, we can put on these so like they don't warp and sound like shit. Tape still will have the problem that tape always had. So it's like kind of gets to this thing where you're like, well, it's it's more than it was when it first came out, and it's not worth it. Although I do wonder, are you guys going to come out with a cassette eventually? Would you want to do that?
That's a good question because I just don't know where that sits, like in production wise. I know not even production wise. It's just like I know that's mainly like a hardcore or black metal type of deal there. Like they love putting shit on cassettes. I don't know if I know any like deathcore or modern metalcore bands that really do that. Like, but
hit up Josh for the cassette mix. It just has a bunch of hissing on it.
Yeah, I know we were pains in the asses here, but can we also get a fucking cassette mix from you, dude? Please.
I bet he would actually love to do that.
I'll bring you an ice cold McDr. Pepper here.
Well, it's good chatting with you, dude, and I'm very eagerly awaiting you now to tell me your review of that Rain When I Die cover.
I'm checking it out as soon as I get off the video call with you here.
Well, have a good rest of your day and chat soon.
Hey, thanks, man. Later.